featuring Will Gavin and Master Tess Fassian.
And a squad of big-name contributors.
The S Word
from talkSPORT.
Hello and welcome to the S Word, brought to you by talkSPORT and the S World YouTube channel, with myself, Will Gavin, and the great Master Tess Fassian.
Great to be here.
Oh, man.
Episode 1, baby.
Unbelievably hyped for this one. Here to bridge that gap between football and soccer, to provide a show that, as you say, the American fans deserve, Master.
They absolutely do. It is an honor to be here, leading up to the World Cup in 2026 and being able to present this with yourself and the great crew that we have. I'm excited for what will come from this show.
And what a first show we have in store for you. United are back in the big time. Spurs are out of the relegation zone. Apparently Real Madrid are targeting Unai Emery, despite the fact that he was described as a national disgrace yesterday by our very own Rory Jennings. We'll have the former Spurs, Villa and US MNT goalkeeper Brad Friedel alongside us. You've just been to watch Real in action.
Yeah, I just got back from Barcelona. I was at Espanyol, Real Madrid. Actually, one of the ultras at Espanyol actually gave me the scarf. So shout out to them. It was a difficult loss for them. I hope I'm putting this the right way.
While you figure it out, I'll let people know. We have the former president, Ramon Calderon, joining the show, as not only we talk Unai Emery with him, but do Los Blancos have an Mbappe problem? Plus, the managerial question marks on both sides of United Liverpool yesterday in our fan face-off, into finally sealing the Scudetto, and the sensational Mike Ryan Ruiz will join the show as well. I say that 3 times quickly. This is the S Word, because around here, we use the F word and never the S word. Oh, Master, this feels like weeks and months of our time put together, and finally we are in the studio together, ready, live on YouTube at talkSPORT, live on the talkSPORT S Word YouTube page as well. You're going to be able to find all of our content across the talkSPORT social channels, Instagram, Facebook. Why did I go for Facebook second there? Show what an unk I really am. TikTok, X, absolutely everywhere. And we've got our own channels now as well. So if you find at talkSPORT S Word on Instagram or on X, you can get in touch with us there. Master, that's some of the nuts and bolts out of the way. But look, for people who may be not familiar with myself or yourself, like, I come to this as someone who's worked at talkSPORT for 15 years, as someone who has kind of made a little bit of a name for myself in America with my NFL commentaries.
Just a little.
Yeah, very much just a little. But
you go viral every week in the fall.
Just 21 million views last season. Don't worry about it. Look, that's not off the top of my head or anything.
No, not at all.
But look, I've been here at talkSPORT for years. I am part of the furniture extent, Big Ginge, as I'm known by the breakfast team and by Alan Brazil. But for people who aren't familiar with yourselves, whether that's over across the side of the pond or here, what made you buy into talkSPORT as a British entity, making this show specifically for US football fans?
I think talkSPORT has the pulse on the conversation, not just here in the UK, but globally. And I think that a lot of people really enjoy the clips, the comments, the banter. Everything feels really authentic and really genuine. And for me, it's more of a reflection of what I experience when I'm in America and I'm in the pubs, I'm in the bars. I'm experiencing the conversations when I'm going to Yucca Tap Room in Tempe, Arizona, watching the North London Derby at 6 a.m. with 250 Arsenal supporters from the Valley chanting and screaming for 90 minutes. When I'm at the Londoner in Dallas and I'm, Chelsea and Arsenal's going on and the bar split half and half between Arsenal and Chelsea fans throwing beers around and chanting at each other. When I'm getting up at 4:30 in the morning when I'm in Los Angeles and people are actually gathering to watch these matches. You can go on and on. The bar in Miami, Brew House Cafe in Atlanta, an amazing experience there. Fleet Street Pub on Broadway in Nashville. It goes on and on and on. This experience, for me, it makes the fan in America, it's the most underappreciated fan in the world. We get knocked on it all the time, being called soccer, football, whatever the case may be, even though the British are what started soccer, by the way. It wasn't the Americans. The British are the ones that started. So if you want to blame us, you can blame them. All right. But we took this concept of soccer, and yes, it has taken time to grow and evolve, and it's not as well developed infrastructurally as it is in the rest of the world. However, if you really get to experience this, you will see we appreciate the sport, I feel like, more than any other country in the world. Why? I go watch matches all over the world. If I come here to the UK, all they care about is their domestic leagues and Champions Leagues. Same in Italy, same in Spain. In America, I can go to one of these pubs I just mentioned right now and I will find a Real Betis fan. I will find a Manchester City fan. I will find a Leeds fan. I will find a Boca Juniors fan. I will find fans from all over the world with this blend of diversity and different perspectives. And it is the most beautiful experience that I promise you cannot find anywhere else in the world. So we hope to deliver that to you 2 hours a day, Monday through Friday.
And look, listen, as part of that whole conversation, from our perspective, there are 60 million active football fans in the US. You know, we just saw
the fastest growing sport, the third biggest sport in America.
Man City Arsenal got the highest viewership ever for a soccer game in the US recently. So this is a show designed for the fans out there. The World Cup obviously being a huge part of this, and we'll be looking forward to that. Our guests will, of course, be some of the great talkSPORT names. This week we'll have Darren Bent joining us, Simon Jordan joining us. We've already got Ramon Calderon and Brad Friedel coming up today. But our guests will also be the greats that are covering the sport out in the US, people who maybe as a US sports fan you know and love. And we're going to kick things off in absolute style with if you don't watch this man on the Dan LeBatard show, I don't know what you are doing with your time.
Living under a rock.
Please welcome our first ever guest on the S Word, the great Mike Ryan Ruiz. Mike, how are you doing, brother?
I'm doing better now. That speech from Master charged me up. I was damn near standing on the table. That was incredible. I was like Bill Pullman in Independence Day. Yeah. I'm done apologizing for our fandom. We got really passionate fans over here that work really hard to follow this sport and pay thousands of dollars worth of streaming just so they can talk about the Leverkusen match. Hell yeah, Master.
Mike is a big reason behind that, by the way. He has created an incredible infrastructure, a beautiful community that I've been involved in since the 2022 World Cup. And it has opened up my perspective in many ways. And I'm so grateful for Mike and all the sacrifices he's made to help grow this sport in the country. So to have you on as our first guest, it's so fitting.
And
it's an honor.
I mentioned about you appearing on the Dan LeBatard show and the great work you do there, both as a producer but also involved on air. And that's where I first caught sight of you, is bringing soccer to kind of the mainstream, as it were, sports fans out in the US. Because let's be honest, like the coverage out there, you've got the NFL, the NFL, the NFL, and then NBA, MLB. Like that's where the focus is. How much are you finding in the build-up to this World Cup that, you know, we're just over a month away now, that it's starting to creep in, that people are starting to get hyped and ready for this?
Yeah, I think the United States is going to be late to the party. Unfortunately, it does happen during the time in the sports calendar once the NBA Finals wrap up, where it basically has that part of the calendar alone to itself. Here in the United States, baseball is not going to be bumping it out of the news stream. But in the ramp up for it, I'm a little disappointed. Maybe it was a bit utopian, but I was hoping for some of the big talents in the United States, the Stephen A. Smiths of the world, to educate themselves a little bit. But I don't think that's what we're going to have over here in the United States. And it's part of this whole encompassing thing when it comes to this World Cup. For every American, I think I can speak freely here. This isn't what we thought it was going to be when the specter of this was looming decades ago.
So how do we make the most of this? Because it's still coming. It's going to be the biggest World Cup of all time. In '94, we saw what came out of that, the creation of MLS. It's still the most profitable World Cup of all time, the 1994 World Cup in the United States. So obviously, money-wise, set aside, because that's its own issue. But what's the next?
We're getting into that, by the way.
Yeah,
that will be a huge talking point.
But first, I want to touch on how can we use this opportunity this summer to help grow this sport to another level, and what does that level look like?
That's a great question, Master, and I don't think we'll know the answer until we get going here. Domestically, MLS, who does plan to change their calendar, something more in line with what you have over there in Europe, has decided to pause that for this season because there's a lot of momentum with that World Cup, and they'll be able to jump right into the teeth of their season, and I think that'll be an important launch pad for them. But I don't know, to answer your question, and this isn't the World Cup that we've felt conflicted about and wondering, like, is this going to diffuse some of the energy around it? You had Russia, you had Qatar, you had a little bit of this ramping up for South Africa. It's not the first time that people have felt some type of way going into the World Cup. I think the real shock here is that the United States is now in the discussion with those countries, and that's a huge bummer. But I do think that once we get underway, the United States, with its facilities and its ability to get to the party, even if it's late, and really blow things up, I think it'll still feel like a proper World Cup once we get going.
We love a party.
Oh, yeah.
As you saw in F1 Miami over the weekend, we love a good party.
I was at F1. I'm probably one of the only people in recorded history to go from Talladega 1 week to Formula One right at the finish line in the Paddock Club.
Oh, you're so cultured, Mike. Like,
very cultured. Very
Get
sports.
you a man that can do both. I was a little disappointed. I was a little disappointed at the Paddock Club. There weren't people chugging out of prosthetic limbs.
Or WWE style, using them as weapons as they hand it to them from the crowd. You know, any of the above would work for me. Look, on this show, we're not just going to cover the topics of the World Cup of football in North America, but we did have breaking news from our very own Ben Jacobs overnight about the future of Manchester United midfielder Casemiro. The two leading contenders now, apparently, to sign him from MLS are Inter Miami, LA Galaxy. You cover, Mike, Inter Miami very, very closely. The 34-year-old Brazilian leaning towards a move to Major League Soccer, despite firm interest from Saudi Arabia and from Turkey as well. Yeah, obviously, with Inter Miami, there's always the Messi conversation, right? How big is it for a team that recently has had its struggles to be right at the top of that list for a player like Casemiro?
Well, I think they need a player like Casemiro, and I don't know how much good football he has. MLS is a bit of a different spin on the sport. A guy like Busquets had plenty to offer when he came to MLS, and Inter Miami really could use a defensive-minded midfielder. If you look at the gap between their midfield and the backline, it's pretty disastrous right now. Now, they are a team in transition. They have an interim manager in place. They moved into their new stadium about a month ago. They still not have one at their new stadium. Orlando City came in recently, and that handed them an embarrassing loss. So a lot of questions to answer. Unfortunately, the big story down here is you want to hear all these questions answered. It's not coming from the veteran players. They're sending Noah Allen out to talk to the media, and so they're getting a fair amount of guff from local media types and fans because their veteran players don't have to be accountable. They don't have to answer questions from the media. In fact, they pull credentials from some media members that they find too critical. So the Inter Miami vibes are not really going all that great.
How is the league going to grow doing that? I mean, they've already catered as much as they can financially to help Inter Miami. They bring in every legend possible from Europe, and now they're trying to silence the media as well. When we're trying to grow this sport and trying to grow this league, as a FC Dallas fan that unfortunately is dealing with the lack of funds and riches that clubs like Inter Miami can experience to grow their club and increase the talent from them, it's a huge turnoff.
Yeah, it is, but I don't think putting Messi in front of a microphone after a disappointing loss is going to help grow the game. And part of their pitch to Messi and when they re-signed him was probably like, you never have to do that again if you never want to, you know? So I don't know how much that grows the game. I mean, Messi is limited and has never seemed super pumped to grow the game. He grows the game by his play. And I think we all have to accept that. And we all have to acknowledge that it's kind of worked out. So I don't know how Inter Miami turns this thing around from a PR perspective. I don't think they're going to change the way that they operate. I think they're still going to blacklist some media members they deem too critical. The best way for Inter Miami to turn the narrative around their club around is to make an impact signing or two, bring in a manager. There's some interesting names out there. I think Gallardo is probably the most interesting, and win. And if they do that, then people will kind of just ignore what's going on right now. In fact, is like they are kind of ignoring what's going on right now. MLS and Messi, even though they just moved into a new stadium, they are not dominating the conversation here locally. I'm a little bit surprised at how little conversation and how little staying power this thing has had down here. And if you go in the secondary market, tickets are available. I can't believe that because it was a hard ticket to get before Messi and when they were playing 15 minutes outside of Boca.
The other part too, Will, as you walk around, there's so much Inter Miami merchandise that you see in the UK, globally. They've done a great job of growing the brand, which again, as an American soccer fan, I can greatly appreciate knowing and understanding you need clubs like Inter Miami to help grow the league and grow the game domestically. But it just feels like there's still a disconnect. It feels very much manufactured. It doesn't feel like it has the authentic roots that you may see from other clubs in the United States, but also that you're accustomed to in the sport.
Yeah, that pink shirt might fall in line with the Von Dutch hat and the Ed Hardy shirt. You can kind of tell what you're looking at when someone approaches you wearing that shirt, I think.
100%. I don't know what aspersions you're casting, Mike, but we do not sign off on them here on the S Word. Look, because you are a man that specialises in clubs in turmoil, apparently. Chelsea in action a little bit later today. Of course, we'll be right across the talkSPORT network, but you get off the slide with the FA Cup semi-final win. Still a real good chance at a trophy there, but how are you feeling right now ahead of this game this afternoon? The state of Chelsea as they are right now, managerless and a little aimless going into next season, let's be honest.
Not the first time, won't be the last. Chaos and trophies. Right now, we're at that part of the. I told you this. We're headed into the part of the Chelsea campaign where they cycle through a couple managers and then they land on a generational type that'll win all the trophies and then they'll get bored and fire him inside of 4 months in the next campaign. That's just what Chelsea does. There are some interesting names. I'm a big Xabi Alonso fan. And Donny, I think, is a name to keep an eye on, be it Chelsea or be it Palace. I think he'd be a good fit. And we'll see if he can be that guy that can come in and stabilize the squad. It's just what Chelsea does. This is the life cycle. It's frustrating. I wish they would be a little bit more consistent, but over the course of 20 years, there are these crazy peaks and crazy valleys, and I think I have a pretty good perspective on that, and right now, we are certainly in a valley.
Do you hope the consistency of Arsenal? Is that what you're hoping for right now?
Now, which era of Arsenal's consistency are we talking about? Are we talking about fourth place Wenger, or are we talking about
the consistency of always competing? And I'm saying this year will be the double. Don't worry, the double is on.
Always.
Actually, the treble is on. We should say, because it's not only the Champions League they're going to win, not only the Premier League, but if Tottenham get relegated as well, we might as well call that a treble, right?
Chelsea win big. They love big. They're deeply passionate. They take these crazy swings, and I wouldn't trade the experience for anybody in the world because, for the next 3.5 years, you still have to call Chelsea world champions, man.
Oh, God.
You guys did not even care about that tournament.
That
What?
really hurts.
Everyone talks about what a failure this Chelsea season has been. They're world champions. It's absent from the conversation.
None of my Chelsea fans that I know, whether here in the United States, overseas, none of y'all cared about the Club World Cup until you made it to the quarterfinals and the semifinals. Then you rode the whole wave at that point. And then
why should I care about a trophy that really didn't exist until this summer? I mean,
it did exist.
Yeah,
but we can't talk about that. It did exist before this.
It didn't really exist. Not in that form.
We can't talk about
It
that.
was a proper World Cup. Chelsea won it. What are we doing? They won the biggest trophy.
Hey, look, I, as a Reading fan, will forever celebrate winning the Simod Cup in 1989, a trophy that only existed for 3 whole years. So we're good. I get it, Mike. I get it massively. Look, Mike, where can people find more of the great stuff that you do, sir?
YouTube.com/@LeBatard Show if you want to follow the Dan LeBatard Show globally. And of course, our podcast is still a monster. The Dan LeBatard Show with 2 Gods. Find it wherever you get your podcast.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. The brilliant Mike Ryan.
Appreciate it, Mike.
Joining us on the S Word sensational stuff. Throwing up the U's as well for us at the end as well. Don't forget, we are live on the talkSPORT YouTube page and on the talkSPORT S Word page. So if you're there, if you're watching right now, get in the chat. Mike's done just that. Says shout out to Mike Ruiz. And June Lee has got in touch as well, just with an LFG master. So love to see.
Shout out, June.
Friends are very welcome here as well as regular listeners, followers as well. We've got a massive show coming up for you. So don't forget, get in touch across all the social medias. We are on Instagram. We are on Twitter. We are at talkSPORT S Word on all those locations. You can find our personal ones. They're on the screen if you're watching us on YouTube right now as well. Coming up, we're going to break down the weekend's action here domestically in the UK because a massive weekend. Manchester United, Liverpool. We had Tottenham getting out of the relegation zone. Villa, apparently a national disgrace. All coming up. Plus Ramon Calderon, the former Real Madrid president, joins the show. And the former Villa and Spurs goalkeeper, Brad Friedel. What a lineup for show 1 of the
Big show
here from talkSPORT.
Big name reaction from both sides of the pond.
The S Word
From talkSPORT. you. Just 2 hours of full-on football dialogue.
Every day.
talkSPORT presents
The S Word.
You're back with the S Word on talkSPORT via the talkSPORT S Word YouTube channel, and you can also find us up there on the talkSPORT YouTube channel right now. We've got our own Instagram at talkSPORT S Word. We've got our own X at talkSPORT S Word as well. So find us there, drop us a DM, leave some message, get in touch with the show. Let us know what you are thinking, what you are making of the content that we are getting into today. And it has been a massive weekend coming out of the Premier League. Master, I'm Will Gavin, Master Tess Fatsin alongside me. Listen. Huge weekend of Premier League action. Not done quite yet. Lots coming still for you today across the talkSPORT network, but with big things happening at both ends of the table. Here's how it sounded on talkSPORT.
Leeds have got a third goal! It's Calvert-Lewin who reels away in celebration. Leeds are going to be safe in the Premier League.
And it looks like game over. Brentford 3, West Ham 0, Mikel Damsgaard.
At the end of the season, this could be a damaging defeat for West Ham.
It's Newcastle 3, Brighton 1, and game over. Harvey Barnes.
But this is a really bad result for Brighton, who've got a big chance of Champions League football next season.
Arsenal running riot against Fulham here. 6 points clear at the top of the Premier League table as things stand. Arsenal 3, Fulham 0.
Manchester United 3, Liverpool 2, and it came from Kobbie Mainoo.
That's how you celebrate a new contract, 5-year deal for Kobbie Mainoo.
Bournemouth 3, Crystal Palace 0. They're going to be going up to 6th in the table. Ryan is the goal scorer.
Alisson is there. He's headed the ball in. Roberto De Zerbi runs onto the pitch in celebration. Roberto De Zerbi said, "We aren't relegated yet." And he was right. Tottenham get a lifeline away at Aston Villa at Villa Park. Aston Villa 1, Tottenham 2.
What a weekend. So many talking points. Spurs out of the bottom three, as we just heard there last night. I don't think... How are you feeling about that? Feeling hurt too?
I mean, they're going to be begging for us for some help this weekend, so I don't mind your rival begging you for some help, you know? It's a nice little position to be in.
But we should start off with the game of the weekend, Manchester United facing Liverpool, because this great old rivalry, it does not matter that it is maybe not contending for titles right now, but two teams still in the European places.
Still a lot on the line.
A lot on the line, like you say. United coming out and beating rivals Liverpool 3-2 and really dominating them for huge sways of this game, Master. Where are you feeling on the Michael Carrick of all this right now?
Oh, you know what? He's done enough to maintain the job and keep the job as Manchester United's manager. My biggest concern is, will he have the resources this summer to actually excel and thrive? We just talked about Casemiro. He's going to be leaving at the end of the summer or the end of the season. Who are they going to replace him with? Because that is a massive, massive void, not just for his position as a defensive midfielder, but somehow he's been contributing on goals. His instincts, his knack for being at the right place at the right time in the box, especially on set pieces. How do you replace that? Who would you replace that with? I don't know if there's a ideal player at this point. Maybe Elliot Anderson, but that's going to be a huge bid. Do they have enough money with the Champions League money coming in to sign 3 or 4 players? Do they have enough players leaving? And they need the squad depth now because they're going to be returning to Europe. So it is a big, big ask for whoever's in that position. And will you be able to put Michael Carrick in the position to succeed and thrive as the manager? That's the part that's the biggest question mark. And we have yet to see that from Ineos. We have yet to see that from Glazer family. Regardless of who's been in that position since Sir Alex Ferguson left, they have not been able to find their footing in multiple competitions. So that is the biggest question mark I have. But you can clearly see from Kobbie Mainoo's remarks after the match, he believes in Michael Carrick. You could tell the players believe in Michael Carrick. The performance was outstanding, especially in the first 45 minutes. And then, Liverpool, credit to them. They came back, made something out of it in the second half, but to able to respond back for United afterwards and pull away with a 3-2 victory, I think that speaks volumes to Michael Carrick. And it would be, you're going to lose a lot of fans if you do not bring Michael Carrick back. And I think that would be the biggest issue that management and ownership would have to deal with if they do not retain him.
I think from my perspective, and listen, we had this news coming from Alex Crook just a short while ago. Michael Carrick edging closer to becoming the permanent manager. I think that should be no surprise to anyone right now. In the box to lead United beyond the summer after guiding them to Champions League qualification. They haven't, the United hierarchy, yet to offer Carrick any assurances over the permanent role, are aware he has the backing of the dressing room, and the fact that United have not held talks with any external candidates at this point is seen as a positive. Sources close to Carrick expecting formal discussions to begin imminently. And listen, from my perspective, let's celebrate a young English manager doing something great at a big Premier League club, because it has been a very long time since that's happened. Yes, we had Eddie Howe and what he's done with Newcastle, but obviously a difficult second, third season for him right now. News over the weekend means that it sounds like he might continue in that job. But from Carrick's perspective, to come in and to raise the floor of this team, to actually make them feel like a viable week in, week out contender, a team that can beat City, that can beat Arsenal, that can beat Chelsea, that can beat Liverpool, as they have done over his tenure. And yes, he didn't make the signings last summer. Benjamin Sesko, who wasn't a Ruben Amorim guy, has been excellent. Matthias Cunha, sensational. Bryan Mbeumo was excellent again last night. Actually, Sene Lamens, let's just give a word for him. Brilliant when he stepped into that number one role as he's had to. Little bit of a rough one this weekend for him. It was. A little bit of a shocker.
He's helped shore up that back line, though. He has been really, really good this season, but that wasn't his best performance.
And just honestly, none more than the man you mentioned there, Kobbie Mainoo, because from my perspective, you take what Mainoo was under prior to Amorim, getting into the England squad as a teenager, breaking through into that Man United team, looking like he could be the future of that side. And then Amorim just didn't fancy him. And it's never really been explained. Talks of him going out on loan, talks of him leaving permanently. Arguably the best player on the pitch for United last night, gets the winning goal in the end. And honestly, I think we're at a point right now, Master, where I'm looking at what England have to offer in midfield. And if we're seeing a rotation this summer and we're seeing Elliot Anderson, Kobbie Mainoo and Declan Rice between them, when we've got the hottest World Cup of all time, the longest World Cup of all time, the biggest World Cup of all time coming up, I'm finally feeling like one area of the field where I was, I'm not going to lie, slightly worried 12 months ago, suddenly feels like a strength for this England team.
The England optimism. They talk about Arsenal being the bottlers of...
Let's start Kobbie Mainoo and Elliot Anderson for England at holding.
Over Declan Rice?
They are the form players.
And Declan Rice isn't? We'll touch on Arsenal here in a minute, but I'll let that aside. It gives you some depth at least, because you're going to need that for the expanded World Cup format. He has looked great, but Declan Rice not being at that start level is nonsense. I'm not going to even entertain that idea. He absolutely deserves.
I mean, they did talk about Declan Rice today on talkSPORT as being a player of the season candidate. And I would say since January, like first 4 months of the season, 5 months of the season, maybe the best player in the Premier League. Last 3 or 4 months.
But that's the
falling back to the pack in a big way.
Any English player that has one good performance, all of a sudden you guys want to hand him the Ballon d'Or and tell him he's the greatest player in the world and he's worth 120 million pounds. I always have to take English commentary and punditry with a grain of salt, because anytime you guys get a glimpse of an English player who does something on the ball, next thing you know, he's the greatest player of all time, and it's all nonsense. But Declan Rice, for me, of course, has had a great season. He has tapered off. There's been a lot of injuries, as we've seen with Arsenal. But Kobbie Mainoo here, he absolutely deserves to be on this World Cup roster for England. In what capacity, I'm not sure. But knowing that he's going to be on that roster, I think is a huge boost for England, for the fans, for your false optimism that England for finally wins something.
Stop. But my main point is that Michael Carrick has been the reason for that. Revolution in his play. Tactically, he's got it absolutely spot on. He has brought those players and given them confidence and made them feel like they can go and win these games. And like I say, other than 2 horrible mistakes in the second half, we called this a thriller. And I thought to myself, like, actually, who had the worst first half performance last night? Liverpool or Aston Villa? Because I think there's a legitimate argument that it could be either of them. And considering Aston Villa didn't have a shot on target until, the 91st minute last night, that gives you an idea of just how poorly Liverpool played up until they got gifted a couple of goals.
It's always interesting to note the performances and the absences of the performances, where with Liverpool, they were playing with a false 9 with Florian Wirtz in that position. Isak, unfortunately, hurt again, the groin injury. Just been a terrible year for him, unfortunately, as a big fan as I am, as an Eritrean, wanting him to do well at Liverpool. That just has not been the case this season. And so they had to change tactically what they were doing. And you can tell in that first 45 minutes, it just was not working out. However, how they came out in the second half, it was encouraging to see them still have that fight, being down 2-0, giving something in the first 15, 20 minutes of that match. And Because at that point at halftime, I think the conversation was, what do you do with Slot? it felt like
100%.
It felt like the players gave up on him in that first half. It was that bad of a performance where, as much as I have tried to defend Slot this season, he won a Premier League last year, the unfortunate passing of Diego Jota, all the changes that came into the team, Mohamed Salah's decline, as we saw this season. There were a lot of variables there that unfortunately has not worked out for Liverpool. But I was at halftime even convincing myself that Slot has to go. This thing is not going to work out. So to see them respond in that kind of way was a bit encouraging, but that first half performance was absolutely pathetic. And unfortunately, if Isak is still out, obviously Ekitike is out as well, there's probably a chance we see another half like that from Liverpool again this season.
The threat was absolutely non-existent. United pulled them apart. Their movement was sensational in the first half, and that was maybe more of the worry for me, was that a midfield that they had to, again, because of injuries, revert to. But the reason, I think there's been a lot of revisionist stuff on Arne Slot, right? It's all this, oh yeah, he won the Premier League with Jurgen Klopp's team. You mean a team that Jurgen Klopp didn't win the Premier League with the previous season? And he converted and moved players around, and Gravenberch suddenly became a really viable midfielder for them and had a great season that season. I think my concern was that they actually brought in some of those guys who had performed well for Slot in the past, and they really didn't step up to the level that they needed to. And
who's to blame for that? They spent all of this money. These are the guys that, whether Slot wanted, I guess, most of them. Isak was probably a cherry on top. That either the management and the opportunity they had in front of them to get Ekitike and Isak to shore up their attack, knowing that you're replacing a lot of players, which is very challenging to do in the Prem. But, I mean, Slot has to take his responsibility on this as well. He has not had the best season for himself, and there's a reason why he is on the hot seat. And I still think he's going to survive this season, especially if they qualify for Champions League, which they should. If they don't, he absolutely needs leave. But he will not have a long leash at the start of next season. If they get off to a bad start at the start of early next season, I can see him being sacked very, very
But I can also see a world where, given the summer to get over it, given a little bit more time with those players to bed in, I don't think they're going to go and throw money around again this summer. I also see a world where they are absolutely competing for the title next season. Like, this hasn't been, as much as from an Arsenal perspective, you will be incredibly proud to have won the title. It's not been a classic Premier League season. Somebody could have, come through. You could have seen a Liverpool. You could have seen a team challenge Arsenal truly all the way. And I know we've seen what's happened with Man City late on, but Man City were in a transition. Arsenal have wavered since Christmas, since January. This is on the table for somebody like Man United, somebody like Liverpool, to potentially step up to that mark and go and grab this Premier League season by the horns. I think that's going to be the same next year. I think there's still going to be plenty of opportunity. And I think Liverpool, with the smart investment, my point is they're not going to spend £400 million again.
They may not, but they have to spend money because his back line is not good enough. And we knew that in the summer transfer window that they needed another center back. They went for Mark Gahey. It got blocked from Herzler and Brighton. They're going to have to spend money on center backs. Virgil van Dijk is aging. Konate, even though he'll probably return, They need rotation to make sure that they can compete in all the competitions they're going to be in. So they're going to have to spend over 150 million quid, probably 200 million quid, maybe. Ekitike's injury, that could prolong his return, and who knows what form he comes back in. A lot of questions for Liverpool that go beyond Slot and what they do this summer.
So are we saying Liverpool stick with Slot, but short leash? Is that the
he's got a shorter leash than Michael Carrick, I would think. And Michael Carrick, regardless of how he returns, he will probably have a short leash as well.
Well, look, we've also got to get into, there's plenty more to come from all of the action across the Premier League. Graham gets in touch with us on Instagram at talkSPORT S-word. He's saying, enjoying the show. He says, I thought Villa were awful last night. We're going to get onto that coming up shortly. Don't you worry. Unai Emery, what you doing, sir? But let's just mention the Arsenal performance on Saturday while we are just referencing Arsenal a little bit.
Someone was over here talking about how bad they've been since January. I don't know if you watched the match on Saturday because, I mean, they look tremendous.
Fulham, the definition of a team on the beach, but
I mean, they're still competing for Europe. They're still technically in the conversation for Europe.
I feel like after last week, we've seen the emergence of Bournemouth, the emergence of Brentford pushing for those. I think Fulham fallen off that at this point. For me, that looked like a team who turned up and were maybe not up for the fight against, admittedly, an Arsenal side who probably had their best performance in recent weeks.
I would say, yeah. And I mean, it got to the point where you're hearing...
Probably since the Spurs win, to be honest, and you were playing Spurs at that point.
Yeah, somewhere around December, January, when the injuries was starting to mount up and pile up, and everyone thought Arsenal fans were making excuses, but the reality was, yeah, it was just an insurmountable amount of injuries, that only Tottenham has had more injuries than Arsenal this year in the Premier League. So of course, when you're missing Bukayo Saka, when you're missing key players at fullback, Yuri and Timber, when you're missing key components of your starting 11, of course, you're going to suffer. It's not going to be the same team. And I don't think Mikel Arteta got enough credit of being able to steer the ship and getting through some very difficult and challenging situations with players who were playing every 3 or 4 days, Champions League, Premier League, Cup competitions, and being in a position right now in the run-in where they could still win the Premier League and they could still win the Champions League. Like, it has been incredible that they have been able to withstand the storm. And we saw from 45 minutes of Bukayo Saka just exactly what Arsenal was missing this entire time. Unbelievable performance from him. We haven't even seen too much this season with the link-up play between him and Gyökeres. There's just kind of been a disconnect. But in that performance, you saw the best of Bukayo Saka, and you also saw, I admit, the best of Victor Gyökeres. I was not a fan of this signing. I didn't think Arsenal should have signed him. I didn't think he would be the best fit. And this year has been a mixed bag of reviews in terms of his performances, but he did exactly what Arsenal needs from a striker. Good hold-up play, link-up play with his wingers, being able to crash the box, giving great opportunities, and his first touch for once, wasn't bad. It wasn't like a brick foot or a lead foot that was bouncing off the ball. He was able to control, possess the ball, and that beautiful assist that he had for Saka on his second goal. That was tremendous performance from Victor Gyökeres. We need to see that for the rest of the season.
Yeah. This is my question, because the same issues that have existed for Arsenal for a very long time still exist for Arsenal. What are you doing off the left and what are you doing through the middle? Are you concerned that Victor Gyökeres is now doing enough that they're not going to invest in the position? Or actually, are you excited that maybe he's doing enough and he's going to be the answer?
We can worry about that in the summer. Right now, this is exactly what I lock in, Victor Gyökeres.
Bring your lunch, bring your dinner.
Bring all of that, all right? The fire. I want to see the fire. All the LinkedIn propaganda that Arteta spreads. I'm one of those fans. I will buy into all of that. I need the best from Victor Gyökeres. I need the best. Trossard looked amazing Saturday.
Miles Lewis-Skelly, by the way, moving into midfield, we know the 19-year-old has played midfield for the Arsenal youth team. We know that, he is a guy who is a moving piece, but 19 years old, playing him in a big game when essentially the title is on the line. You need to win every game at this point. Felt like a massive risk, and it felt like a risk that Mikel Arteta absolutely nailed. I thought he was sensational at the weekend. Unbelievable energy levels, never gave the ball away, very secure.
He set the tone for this team. In the first 15 minutes. MLS set the tone for this team in the first 15 minutes, and it was tremendous to see him in his natural position, playing in the midfield instead of fullback. I've always been concerned when MLS comes on the pitch because he's aggressive, and I love his aggressiveness, but sometimes it has led to reckless challenges that, as last year, as we saw, red cards or the threat of being sent off in the match. This performance was his best performance at Arsenal. He was in control. He was assertive. He was aggressive. He was pushing forward the team. He was contributing in the attack. He was helping back defensively as well. He was all around.
All right. I said it was good.
Impressive performance. It was great.
Take a breath.
Should I? Do I need to?
Yeah, no, you're good.
You just spent the last 10 minutes dogging Arsenal and saying they didn't play well. I mean, I had to show them some love. Despite that, there were some injuries Fulham had too. We should note that. Sessegnon didn't play. Alex Iwobi didn't play. Kevin didn't play.
We are going to talk about that situation at Aston Villa coming up shortly. Labelled as a national disgrace on talkSPORT, Unai Emery's decision to make 7 changes for the game against Tottenham last night. And are we giving Spurs enough flowers for a sensational
here he goes. There we go.
In the bottom 3 of the Premier League, beaten, broken, just a team in dismay, and they turn up and they put on a brilliant road performance. So we're going to get into that as well. Coming up for the S.
You want enough time to
talkSPORT.
Talk flowerly about
From the touchline to the terraces,
talkSPORT presents
the S Word.
It's the show for people who love football in North America. And I mean the proper kind, where you only use your feet.
The S Word
from talkSPORT.
Just to correct that, you only use your feet unless you're Benjamin Sesko handing the ball into the back of the net. But,
yeah, just a little,
just a little touch,
little tap.
Arne Slot loved it.
Yeah. I mean, you had to slow it down and zoom in 4K to see that, but nevertheless, we're back here. The S Word here on talkSPORT. Matt Spots joined alongside Will Gavin, in which one of my group chats has said, "Is that the NFL UK guy?"
Hey, that's what I'm forever going to be known as.
In the flesh. Shout out to Fermo tuning in as well, catching the show as we wrap up the first hour of the first show of the S Word and talking some Premier League as we're catching up on what happened over the weekend. And we got to talk about this Villa Tottenham match, and it was one in which maybe everyone chalked up would be 3 points dropped from Tottenham, but they surprisingly have been actually one of the best teams, I believe the third best team, with the third most away points this season in the Premier League.
They
were able to pull out a 2-1 victory there at Villa. It was really impressive.
They've won more away games in 2026 than Aston Villa have, that's for sure. Listen, Unai Emery, it's a fascinating situation. This morning, talks Alex Crook reporting that Unai Emery was high on the list for the Real Madrid job. Now, we're going to be speaking to Ramon Calderon in a short while. The former president, the guy who was there before Florentino Perez, get his thoughts on that. But let's focus... we're going to focus on last night, but first of all, I want to hear from Ali McCoist, Sir Ali McCoist, on breakfast this morning, talking about those rumours linking Unai Emery to that Los Blancos job.
I'll be honest with you, don't want him to go. Love him, like everything about him. I think the Villa fans would be sorely... They'd bordering on devastation at Villa Park if they lost him. But you know something, there's the naughty part of me would love to see him handle Mbappe and Vinicius Jr. and those boys. Do you know what I mean? I think that would be really, really interesting. And there's no surprise because he is top class. Listen, he was disappointed with the level of performance his team put in yesterday. But why would he not come into their thinking to be their next manager? Because he certainly has proven it at just about every level. Arsenal aside, he has been absolutely fantastic. But Jeff, I want him to stay.
The thoughts of Ali McCoist. Look, it's obvious to everyone what a fantastic job he has done at the club, and this was maybe an outlier performance over the last 18 months or so. First time they hadn't had a shot on target in the 90 minutes. First time they'd only had one touch in the opposition box in the first 60 minutes under him. Like, this wasn't a good performance. Does the blame sit on his shoulder with the changes that they made?
No. It doesn't at all. To say that was a baffling performance on talkSPORT, I think is absolutely ridiculous because everyone knows what Villa fans want right now. They want to win a European trophy. And if you do that, you're going to be in Champions League. And it's not exactly as if the issue has been Unai Emery. The issue has been the financial issues with Villa and not being able to support him competing in multiple competitions this year. You had to bring back Jadon Sancho. Like that's where you're starting this one. Ross Barkley had to start. We know how different Villa has looked without Buendia. And I think that was the biggest key in their attack. Without starting Buendia, you knew what you were signing up for. And
the problem is everyone wants to blame those 7 changes, right? But you look at the players that came in. Victor Lindelof, Tyrone Mings, Ross Barkley, Jadon Sancho, Ian Maatsen, Tammy Abraham and Lamar Bogard, right? Over 1,000 Premier League appearances between them. None of them have less than 14 Premier League appearances this season. These are players who have won major competitions, who have some of the biggest teams in the world, Man United, Borussia Dortmund,
performed
Chelsea.
Well this year.
And
Tammy Abraham, maybe aside, he had a good goal last time, but these aren't guys that have been performing. These aren't guys you can rely on week in and week out in these kind of matches. They're just not.
But the point being is that Emery's record in managing the Europa League successfully is sacrosanct. 4 wins with 2 different teams, just absolutely unbelievable. He's the king of that second tier, right? But you pick at that midfield of Tielemans, Bogard and Barkley to go up against... Spurs put out their absolute workhorses, right? Conor Gallagher, Rodrigo Bentancur, João Paulinho. They outfought them. They outmatched them. They won every second.
They had more on the line.
They just absolutely tore them apart. And
there's more on the line for the Tottenham needed this win. Villa does not necessarily... Yeah, they need to be in top 5, but if they win Europa, they'll still make Champions League. Their mind is clearly on Nottingham Forest, for better or for worse.
My point is I don't have an issue at all with making the changes. I don't have an issue with going, Europe is on the line, that's what we've got to focus on. We didn't want to have this conversation a few weeks ago when Crystal Palace dropped their 4 best players against West Ham when they played against them on that Monday night game and eked out that horrible 0-0 draw, which... might be the point that decides who goes down and who doesn't, right? But it's the fact of the quality of the performance, the decisions that were made, and none of it summed it up better for me than Jadon Sancho taking a corner right at the start of the second half. They come out hair on fire. Immediate attack, press, win a corner. Jadon Sancho takes the corner short and then is caught offside immediately, and the air is sucked out of the stadium that second. And I think
how many Premier League matches does he have? How many starts does he have? Does it make any difference? There's a reason why he's been rotating through and has been in Borussia Dortmund more times than we can count. There's a reason why Leon Bailey wasn't on this. These guys that they've had to rely on. The only reason they're on the squad is because Villa could not afford to replenish their roster and compete in Europa League and also in the Premier League. And having to do that turnaround Thursday to Sunday is not an easy task for any club, let alone a club that does not have the depth that Aston Villa has right now. They don't have the players to compete.
But my problem is a lot of that is to me, it's excuse making, because
it's reality.
It's all true, but at the same time, if you're on the fringes of that squad, if you are a Ross Barkley, if you're a Jadon Sancho, and you go into that team and you play sensationally against Tottenham, and then maybe you get a chance in the upcoming Premier League games, and they've got some big games coming up, because like it or not, Bournemouth have closed the gap to 6 points. They are not guaranteed that Champions League football quite yet. Burnley is the first game, but it's merely days after that second leg against Nottingham Forest, so you might get a second chance then. What have you really impressed down the last 4 or 5 games of the Premier League season? And maybe you've got a chance to start or feature in a European final, the absolute pinnacle of domestic football in this country and on this continent. And yet I just saw no fight, no will. Everyone went out there and just knocked the ball about for basically 80 minutes. He made a couple of changes. Those changes came in the 87th minute. And Buendia gets the goal. They get the first shot on target of the game. Like, Unai Emery was sat in that technical area as a guy who's normally one of the most animated managers in football, and he looked like a cardboard cutout for 90% of that game. He looked like one of the animatronics you get on like Pirates of the Caribbean. He moved his head a little bit and his eyes up and down, but basically just... there was no push, no passion, and I would be concerned if I'm a Villa fan. I would hate that I have paid. I would hate that I have paid for a ticket to go to that game.
Villa fans know what's on the line. They know what's on the line.
But I think mentally, those kind of performances, that kind of just absolutely pathetic that sees so many fans leaving the stadium so early. When Forest are absolutely G'd up, they're bouncing after last week, they're ready to go. If they get a point or anything against Chelsea today, I almost want to write Thursday off, because I think Forest are going to walk in there heads held high, ready to go, and Villa look like they are not up for this fight.
I couldn't disagree more with that. All eyes on Thursday. You show up to Villa Park, you give it everything you got, you talk about top 5. Who cares? If you win Europa League, which on the other side of the bracket, you're going to face either Braga or Freiburg, which if you are Villa, you're thinking, just get to the final, just beat Forest, and you got a result that you can build off of.
26 points off the top of...
So, listen, it's all right in front of them. All you have to do is beat Forest on Thursday. And Forest fans even know it too, despite the fact that they're in a huge battle to make sure that they stay safe, which I think they will. All eyes on them are also on Europa League. Europa League is what matters for them. And that's another opportunity for a Premier League side to make it into Champions League. We've seen the advantage they had, or disadvantage, I guess, for Tottenham's sake, winning Europa League and also making it to the Champions League. But for Villa, everything is on the line through Europa League. These games, I'm not going to say they don't matter, but they're not as significant as making sure you make it to the Europa League final. That's all that matters for Villa fans, and I think that's all that matters for Unai Emery, and this performance showed it.
Unai Emery did try and defend himself to talkSPORT
of course he
after
did.
The game, of course. Let's hear it from the Villa boss, maybe future Real Madrid boss.
I am not linking when we are losing and we are winning for changes. I am not linking, but the supporters or someone is linking it. I am now trying to make sense. We were losing against Fulham, we were losing against Nottingham, and maybe I needed to change more players.
And no Onana, no McGinn in the squad. Just does it signify just how pivotal they are to your plans and this team?
Yes, but it's like 3-4 months ago we had as well some players injured, and we were winning matches. This is the reason we are being consistent during the season. In day 35, today we lost, but during the season we are more or less performing consistency, and we have 58 points. And we had difficult moment as well during the season. We had some injured players. We must believe in the players, and we must use different players where they are being injured.
Fair play to Unai Emery. Didn't make any excuses there, and actually owned up and said we had players injured earlier in the season and we were still winning games of football. possible future Real Madrid manager. We'll speak to Ramon Calderon coming up shortly on that. Just before we move off this game, and I tried to give them some flowers 5 minutes ago.
Did you?
Did you
try to give them flowers? I think you think you told them that it wasn't
right. Back-to-back wins for the first time since the opening 2 games of the season.
Oh God, wrong. I thought you
now more away wins in 2026 than Aston Villa. It was Kolo Muani's best performance for Tottenham, and then when he went over to the fans at the end of the game and he high-fived that whole front row as they dragged themselves out of the bottom 3. This is what Spurs fans have been begging for weeks and months, if not years. Play Land of Hope and Glory. Give me some inspirational music, because Porro, sensational. Paulinho, sensational. Gallagher absolutely worked his tail off. I mean, he's not a champagne footballer by any stretch of the imagination. I'm terrified every time he's on the ball, but what a goal he scored. Losing Xavi Simons, losing James Maddison and Dejan Kulusevski, Mohamed Kudus, Christian Romero, Dominic Sankey, all out of this team. There are 18 clubs, right, in the Premier League right now who have 6 or fewer injuries in their team. Tottenham by far lead the Premier League with 10, and the manager has come in, Roberto De Zerbi, and he has lifted this squad, and they have gone away and they've put on their performance of the season. It might be against a Villa team who feel like they're focused more on Europe than anything else, but you've got to be professional, you've got to do the job.
Are you
and
done?
Spurs were sensational last night. I like, as much as people want to take a dump on Villa, Spurs were brilliant last night and deserve some flowers. Up the Villa! I've never seen you roll your eyes more in the space of 90 seconds, but it's all true. Spurs were really good last night. I have no other choice
but to do that. You know why they were really good? Because they were facing a team that did not care about this game.
Oh, the fans, so just like Arsenal against Fulham.
They did not care about this game.
Just like
they
Arsenal
did not.
Against Fulham.
Yeah, one side is trying to win a title, the other side is trying to stay alive. And for all those Tottenham fans last year in the final match of the season who were rooting for Tottenham to lose, well, guess what? This weekend, who are you rooting for to win? Against West Ham hosting at Arsenal. Who are you rooting for to win?
I think Spurs fans would be happy for a point.
It's ironic. It is ironic that we find ourselves in this position where Tottenham is begging Arsenal to beat West Ham over the weekend so they can stay alive. You love when your rival is begging you for mercy, and that's exactly what's happening this weekend. The tables have turned, and now you need to rely and depend on Arsenal to help you stay in the Premier League from the biggest embarrassment that we've ever seen in the history of the Premier League. Tottenham, the most profitable, lucrative club in the Premier League. They're not going to
need it.
Make more money, and you got sushi in the stadium, you got your steak tacos and everything, all the luxury amenities. You get boxing that goes there. You get concerts. Beyonce gets there.
Villa.
All the money that comes into Tottenham Stadium, and you could potentially be playing in a championship stadium. You need Arsenal. You need Arsenal to stay alive. So please,
they're not going to need it.
Beg.
Tottenham are going to stay up off their own steam.
Us to beat West Ham.
Please. You know what?
Please.
Drop points to West Ham. Drop points to West Ham. Miss out on the title.
Please.
Lose your sacred treble.
We need it.
Lose your sacred treble, and Spurs will stay up all off their own steam.
Just remember who's the club.
By the way, and we'll get Rory Jennings on the show when he's next in studio, because we've got to talk to him about this. Rory Jennings saying that he is desperate for Chelsea to relegate Tottenham at Stamford Bridge. When he called it, he would say it was a top 5 moment as a Chelsea fan in his career. Now Tottenham could stay up if they get something at the Bridge. What a claim that would be. The reason they're going to stay up
is because of Arsenal. Just remember that. They're going to stay up because of Arsenal, Tom.
They're going to stay up because Roberto De Zerbi has brought fire back to that team and turned them back into an actual professional football team, which they really haven't been for the last 4 months. No, it's on your training ground, your joke of a David Brent manager. You are listening to the S Word and watching the S Word on YouTube.
We're on fire.
The S Word YouTube and talkSPORT as well. Get in touch with the show. You can get in the chat, drop us your messages there, or get in touch with us on Instagram or on X using our own handles, or you can go to @talkSPORT S Word on both those channels. We'd love to hear from you and get your thoughts. Particularly Spurs fans, let me know. Did you not get given enough flowers last night? Do you care what the Arsenal West Ham result is next week?
Of course they care.
Are you all about what you're doing?
They always care what Arsenal's doing. Always care about Arsenal.
S Word with Will Gavin and Master Tesfacion from talkSPORT.
featuring Bill Gavin and Master Tess Fassian.
And a squad of big-name contributors.
The S Word
from talkSPORT.
Hide that away. Just if you start talking about Arsenal again, I want to make sure I've got that to hand.
Just for Arsenal, where's mine?
Yeah, well, it's in the other room and I didn't bring it in.
It's an absolute disgrace.
Hour 2 of the S Word. Already on the show today, we've had Mike Ryan Ruiz join us. We talked about the latest with Casemiro going to Inter Miami. We've done some talk about Man United back in the Champions League. We've covered off Unai Emery's apparently disgraceful performance, Tottenham's excellent performance last night. But let's turn our attention to the action on the continent. Real Madrid beating Espanyol to ensure that Barcelona must wait for the La Liga title next weekend in El Clasico.
Big one.
Games. You were there last night, Master.
I was. Let me see if I get this right this time. Shout out to the Espanyol Ultras, a YouTube series coming soon that I'm working on. That hopefully I'll be the Anthony Bourdain of soccer coming to you in August. So I hung out this weekend with the Espanyol Ultras. Shout out to the Espanyol, the club, fantastic. The fans were wonderful. An incredible experience this past weekend. Unfortunately, the result was not good. They have not won a game at all in 2026. It has been a decline in which I thought they could potentially make it to Europe, but now they're just trying to stay up in La Liga. On the flip side of that, another impressive performance by Real Madrid without Kylian Mbappe. And Vinicius Jr. was in his zone. 2 incredible goals that he scored. The link-up play with Jude Bellingham. This team is so much better without Kylian Mbappe. It is so obvious, so evident. They've won Champions Leagues without him. The last 2 years, they haven't won a single trophy with Kylian Mbappe. And what was Kylian Mbappe, Will Gavin, while this game was going on, as they were continuing to fight for even the slightest of chance of winning La Liga, but still fighting for the badge? You want to know where Mbappe was? Mbappe was on the beach. He was on the beach. He was in Sardinia, Italy, of all places, with Esto Esposito, I think is her name. Apparently the most wanted woman in Spain. Apparently he's more concerned with winning trophy wives than trophies at Real Madrid. So we weren't able to see the Kylian Mbappe fighting for individual accolades and records as we saw against a third-tier Spanish club in a cup competition. The Kylian Mbappe experience at Real Madrid through these past 2 years has been an absolute disaster, and he has been a cancer for this team as he was for PSG. And I'm just going to say this, Will. Real Madrid need to move on from Kylian Mbappe. This experience is not working out. They won Champions League. They won La Liga without him. The team did everything they could. Jude Bellingham, from Fede Valverde to Vinicius Jr. They tried to make him as comfortable as possible when he first got there because of the weight of his shoulders. He had a crazy goal drought to start the season. They did everything they can to make him feel comfortable. And how has he repaid them? He has made it dysfunctional for the club. All the reports that have been coming out in terms of the players being frustrated, angry, upset with the way Kylian Mbappe has been treating the players, the managers, the whole entire club. We've seen his absence during the most important times of the season, continuing to fight for the badge. He's on the beach. Like it is inexcusable as the most highest paid player of Real Madrid to not give it your all while you still have a chance for La Liga. To be out in Italy, being photos taken of you at paparazzi, not to be at the bare minimum watching your club somewhere privately and keeping this away from the media. We saw Chouameni 2 years ago, I believe it was. He was at an NBA match in France when he was hurt. So clearly this was approved in some capacity, but he got criticized for that because being publicly out while Real Madrid is playing is a huge no-no for the fans and it's a huge no-no for the club. And I think this experience right now is one that is not going well with the fans. It's not going well with Arbiola, who was very critical and adamant indirectly speaking about Kylian Mbappe and the effort and the fight and what it takes to wear a Real Madrid shirt. And it's not going well with his teammates either because Jude Bellingham and Vinicius Jr. after the match, guess what pictures they were taking and posting on Instagram afterwards? Pictures of themselves talking about us fighting for the badge, making it very apparent indirectly too they're talking about Kylian Mbappe. You know what Kylian Mbappe was doing on social media last night?
Go on.
Marcus Thuram won Serie A Scudetto with Inter last night. Guess who's in the comments? Kylian Mbappe is showing him love. Do you see him in the comments of Vinicius Jr.'s post? No. Do you see him in the comments for Jude Bellingham's post? No. It's a guy who's completely detached and had no other choice but to catch a private jet back to Madrid last night after that performance. And he's back at the training facility right now, this morning, according to reports. This is a huge, huge story right now that I don't think is getting enough coverage because we look at Kylian Mbappe's goals, we see all the accolades and all the individual efforts that he's giving here, but Real Madrid is a better team without Kylian Mbappe. The trophies show it. The performances over the last 12 games show it. The 6 games that Kylian Mbappe has played, they lost 5, won 1. The 6 games in which they played without Kylian Mbappe, they've won all 6, including the most impressive performance they had, beating Manchester City and knocking them out of Champions League. I know this is a controversial take, but it is a cold reality that everyone has to accept. Real Madrid need to move on from Kylian Mbappe, and unfortunately they will not, because Florentino Perez, this is the bet he made, and unfortunately he's going to keep laying in it.
2 years left on his contract. There are fans out there who have literally made websites counting down till the end of that contract in 2029. Also this morning, talkSPORT's Alex Crook reporting that Villa boss Unai Emery is high up on the list for that Real Madrid job. Is the idea that if somebody comes in, maybe they can get the best out of Mbappe. That's the kind of manager they need to go for. Well, a man who knows just how much pressure it is to appoint a manager of Real Madrid and to deal with these Galacticos as he had to is the former Real Madrid president, Ramon Calderon. I'm delighted to say joins the show now. Ramon, thank you so much for taking the time out to speak with us, sir.
Hello, my pleasure to be with you.
And look, Ramon, you heard a very impassioned plea there from my co-host master. What have you made of the Kylian Mbappe situation? What have you made of the fact that it seems like there is more care for what's happening off the pitch for him than on it?
Well, I'm sure that he's right about that. Kylian Mbappe has scored nearly 40 goals this season. It's true what he says, that sometimes it seems that he's not involved, he's not compromised with the team. But I don't think what he's done this weekend, the picture I've seen is having lunch in a restaurant, and even the coach has said that every player can do what he wants when he's a free time, and he was. But I think the problem is not Mbappe, is that the coach must give him the opportunity to enjoy the game in a different way. I think that the mistake was made at the beginning of the season when Xabi Alonso asked for one or two midfielders, and the president decided to sign 3 defenders. So that's a big problem. The midfielders are, as you know, the ones who can slow down the game, who can control the ball, give long passes to the strikers, in this case to Mbappe. And that has been the trouble. I don't think he is the one to blame for the situation of Real Madrid at this moment.
But Ramon, they've played better without him. They've won Champions League without him. They've won La Liga without him. Everything centers around Mbappe when they do play. And we saw last year and even parts of this year, the performances from guys who have been so consistent. Fede Valverde, we saw a dip in his performance last season. Jude Bellingham, obviously dealing with the injuries, a dip in his performance. Vinicius Jr., huge dip in his performance. Everyone has had to sacrifice so much to allow Kylian Mbappe to score those 40 goals and be the talisman for this team. But is it in the best interest of the team when Real Madrid's motto is always no one's bigger than the club?
Well, it's true. I know that very well, and I know that some players cannot fix sometimes in a particular team, maybe in this case with Real Madrid, but I still think that he's one of the best strikers in the world. It's difficult for any team not wanting to have him on his side. Maybe the coach hasn't found the right place for him. It's true that Vinicius and him are playing on the same side of the pitch. That can be a problem, on the left side of the pitch. And maybe a new coach can find a solution for him. I wouldn't let him go, really. But I'm not now in the club, so it's a matter of the president to decide what to do with this player. But we paid a lot of money to him. I think he has already 4 years left of his contract. Not easy to get rid of him.
Is it, Ramon, a Real Madrid situation, though? Is it something where this has been the situation at the club from your time there? You think about the days of Raul and Ronaldo and Zidane and the OG Galacticos, as we think of them maybe in our generation. Actually, Real Madrid do give players like that a little bit more leeway to be themselves because they want those mercurial talents, because they want to be the team who have brought all those brilliant players from around the world together. Do you think actually there is an issue of maybe they see there's a bit more rope at Real Madrid than there would be somewhere else, that they can be themselves more, and sometimes that's not necessarily helping the team?
We have a lot of talent nowadays. very good players, all of them. And I think it's been a matter of the decision of the club about the coaches. First of all, I think sacking Xabi Alonso wasn't the right decision. He was only 5 months in charge, and I think the president was wrong when he backed a player instead of the coach. And well, you remember when Vinicius left the pitch one match after beating Barcelona, he was yielding, shouting. He didn't want to shake hands with the coach. And after that, the club backed the player, not the coach. I think he sent a bad message to the dressing room. And after that, the coach who was appointed had no experience at all. As you said, he came from training young teams of our club and one team we have in the third division. So I think the point is not taking the right decisions in the way the team has been coached up to now, is my opinion. And also the president, who has been very successful in the last 10 years, he likes to act in a personal way. He didn't accept the advice of football professionals. He hasn't got any football director. And maybe in this case, when things are not going well, it's difficult. You look to one part of another and you don't see anyone. So I hope that he can finally make his mind and find someone who can rebuild this team and fix the situation that is not easy at this time. This is a club where to win is an obligation, and that's a problem for anyone. Any coach who comes here must know that it's difficult to be on that bench.
And to go 2 seasons without winning, it's unacceptable at Real Madrid. And so who is that replacement for Xabi Alonso and Arriola? Is it Jose Mourinho, who we just saw from the Benfica match? There was a huge controversy there when Vinicius claimed of racial remarks that were said, and Mourinho backing, of course, his own player. But obviously there is a history there, and some people want him. Is it Jurgen Klopp? Are any of those rumors true? Now we're throwing Unai Emery in the mix. Which one of these 3 guys, or is there another 4th manager potentially that would be a good fit to try and bring the best out of the roster?
It's very difficult to be on that bench, as I said. In the last 65 years, only 2 coaches have been more than 3 consecutive years on that bench, Ancelotti and Del Bosque. That gives you an idea how difficult it is to be there. I've been hearing about Mourinho. I don't have anything against him, but I know what happened when he was here. 3 years, only 1 La Liga title, no Champions League finals, and many problems in the press conferences. He had a lot of trouble with players and so on. It wasn't a good time for Real Madrid when he was here. And what else? Well, who can come is very difficult. I suppose that many coaches will be thinking now, will be really interested to come here, of course. It's a privilege. It's very important to be coaching this club. Maybe, in my opinion, the best club of the world, at least according to the titles we've got. But it's difficult to be on that bench. And sometimes you may think that you are subject to the whims of the president in some moment, and the job is not going to be valued in the right way. That is the problem for any coach who is coming here. And also, as I say, it's very important to have a football director, anyone who can advise the president. We, the presidents, are not professionals. I was a lawyer, he is an engineer. So it's important to have someone close to you who knows how to behave properly. I had Peja Mijatovic. I was very lucky to have him with me, close to me, and advising anytime. So in my opinion, what the president must have is accepting to be advised by some professional who can join him and help to rebuild the team in the right way.
Let me ask specifically, Ramon, on Unai Emery, because he could win a 5th European title this year, obviously all the Europa League rather than the Champions League. Does his record when he's been in charge of clubs like Arsenal and PSG, when he's had that chance at a Champions League level team, concern you at all?
It's a very good coach, but as I say, there are many, and not all of them are going to to be fit for coaching Real Madrid. It's a very difficult team. When you come here, you feel that at any moment. I've noticed that with many top players who have come here and noticed the pressure they have in a club where to win is not a success. It's an obligation of anyone, for the players, for the coach, and for the president. So that is, in my opinion, the problem for any coach. He must be able to accept the pressure he's going to have here. I don't know if Unai is proven to be a very good coach, so why not? I don't know. I don't have a personal knowledge about what the president is thinking about now.
But I think there's that thing of like it's a necessity to win is a huge part of that. I guess the question is, how much of a pressure is there from the fan base side of it? Because you talk about the president, you talk about the club, you talk about the need to win. Are the fan base going to be on side with bringing in someone who has always been brilliant at the second tier but hasn't shown themselves to do it at the very top tier?
It's difficult to say. The fans, what really want is the team to win, to play well, to score goals. It's not easy to play well. You need to be winning titles. Is what anyone is going to demand to any coach coming here. And this is a very demanding club, very demanding fans. They are always expecting the players to play well, as I said, and win titles. No one can assure that. No one can give that security that the titles are going to be got. So, well, let's see. It's a difficult time, really. 2 consecutive years without getting any title is very difficult for this club to accept. The members don't accept that, and we need as soon as possible to change the path we are following now.
Ramon, really appreciate your time. Thank you, sir.
Thank you,
Excellent
Ramon
stuff.
Prezi.
As always.
My pleasure. Bye-bye.
One of the most successful men in world football for a long period of time, but he didn't agree with you on the Kylian Mbappe situation, and I am concerned that's a bit of old school Real Madrid thinking. I am concerned that we have seen it at Real Madrid in the past where they have had, with the Galactico situation, where there have been 2 or 3 players competing for the same position that have butted heads. But yeah, I'm slightly concerned about that. And I would say if I was a Real Madrid fan, as much as I am an Unai Emery fan, and I spent a while on Friday winding up our very own Angelina Kelly about that he could be a good shout for Man United if they don't win this weekend. But some people have to be the hero of their story. Some people have to win the Europa League and be an absolute hero in the city that they did it in, and be that, I joked, king of the second tier earlier.
He wants to be Cristiano Ronaldo.
Not everyone,
so obvious.
Not everyone is set up to go and manage a team like Real Madrid and have success. It's amazing that Zinedine Zidane won 3 Champions League in 3 years, and yet the squad was maybe left weaker after he left. I worry that Unai Emery is not the right person from a mentality perspective to take that job.
And he was at PSG. I mean, he's familiar with Kylian Mbappe. So you're dealing with someone that is trying to live out their dream of playing for Real Madrid and following in the footsteps of Cristiano Ronaldo. And even the fact of him trying to chase these absurd record goals that no one cared about just to have one step closer to surpassing Cristiano Ronaldo's legacy at Real Madrid, just so is his intentionality, which all of that is fine and great. But if you're not winning trophies, no one cares about any of that at Real Madrid. All everyone cares about is how many Champions Leagues did you win? How many La Ligas did you win? How many times did you beat Barcelona? Outside of that, if you are contributing, whether you're Casemiro, whether you're Toni Kroos, whether you're Cristiano Ronaldo, whether you're Marcelo, whether you're Iker Casillas, it does not matter what your role is on that team. They cannot take away those trophies from you. And I think Kylian Mbappe right now, his priorities are just all out of whack. And whoever the manager is coming in, as much as we hope and pray that someone can be there to be the magical fix and the magical touch to all of a sudden get Kylian Mbappe to start hustling and working defensively and being incorporated in the squad, what do we see Luis Enrique try to do with that in his final year at PSG? That infamous clip of him telling him the importance of being part of the team and the work rate that he needs to contribute to this team so they can be successful. He didn't do that. He came to Real Madrid. He didn't do that. He hasn't done that. At this point, he's 27 years old.
But
what you get from Kylian Mbappe is what you're going to get. He's not going to change, regardless of who you bring in as manager.
I feel like Kylian Mbappe is such a huge name and such a huge talent in world football. It feels like the Real Madrid fans, some of them have started to turn. The worm has maybe turned in that direction. But you compare it with, say, the Gareth Bale situation being the most obvious one with that fan base. They were not a fan of Bale from the beginning. It didn't matter that he scored big goals in Champions League semi-finals, in Champions League finals, that he was a key player in those moments. They saw him as a direct rival to Cristiano Ronaldo, who was their first love and the guy that they were going to fawn over all day long, and they never bought into it. Kylian Mbappe, it feels like, for a huge swathe of the fan base, can behave however he wants and will just get away with it to an extent.
It's weighing thin on the fan base. It's weighing thin on the fan base, and whether these reports are true or not, it seems like it's weighing thin on the players themselves. And
it was very strong. Arbeloa said last night that the Real Madrid players got just in tuxedos in their free time, but they don't win with those players. They win players who end up with their shirts covered in mud, sweat, and effort, and you cannot say that about Kylian Mbappe right now. Look,
about Vinicius Jr. 16 goals that he scored in 2026 across all competitions among players in Europe's top 5 leagues. Only Harry Kane has scored more in 2026. Harry Kane scored 24 goals. So all the narrative and talk about Vinicius Jr. in 2026, he has been one of the top strikers in the world, and a lot of that, whether you like to admit it or not, has been in Kylian Mbappe's absence.
Right, let's get to Brad Friedel up next on the show. Tottenham, Villa, Blackburn and USMNT legend joining us up next. So much to get into on the S Word.
Bringing all the biggest football debates
stateside.
The S Word
from talkSPORT.
Kickoff to the full-time whistle.
Don't say the S word. Say the F word.
Football. The S Word
from talkSPORT.
I'm glad they make it clear what the F word is at the end of that there. Because around here we don't say the S word. We say the F word. Football on the S word here. From TalkSport, I'm Will Gavin, Master Tez Fatian, alongside you, me bringing all the best content ahead of World Cup 2026. Today we have already delved deep on United, Liverpool, Real Madrid and the Mbappe situation. We got into a little Unai Emery as well last night. Spurs. Brilliant performance, may I say once more, Master. Up in the West Midlands, back-to-back wins out of the relegation zone. But still to come, we've got our fan face-off. We will go Liverpool United for that. But right now, we have a legend of the show, really, at this point. He joined us during one of our pilot programs as we were getting this together and making it work. And at that point, he pointed out that maybe we shouldn't be using the S word as we describe the show. So I'm delighted to say that former Villa, Tottenham, Blackburn goalkeeper, and of course US MNT legend Brad Friedel joins the show now. Brad, thank you so much for taking the time out, sir.
You got it. How you guys doing?
Hey, can't complain. Now that you're on, everything is going to be tickety-boo, I'm sure.
Yeah, I'm sure. Let's tickety boom. There we go.
You got
to get with the British lingo.
I'm trying my best. I will not try pie or sausage roll, but I guess maybe
I was trying to explain to one of my kids when you got to a traffic light, amber, it's not yellow.
Yeah.
And but they couldn't get it.
Yeah, that's not going to me.
It was a much longer conversation than it needed to be.
Brad, let me ask you a question, actually, because earlier on I was talking about Conor Gallagher's performance last night, and Conor Gallagher's one of those players who, bit of a cult hero, bit of a guy who will absolutely work his behind off for the team. Maybe when he's got the ball at his feet, the passes can be a little wayward, backwards, sideways, or wayward is basically the directions he goes in, but he's kind of the antithesis of a champagne footballer. What is that in America? Like I said, it was a PBR footballer earlier. What do you think is the opposite of a champagne footballer, a workhorse guy?
Well, in sport, I lived in the UK so long. In America, I guess you just said it, workhorse, I think, or a utility man, maybe? You Like a utility guy? Yeah, like something along those lines. But all my lingo, unfortunately, whatever you want to put, like turned into the British lingo. I was over there for so long, and I went years without watching American sports. Well, the odd time it was on. So, but I would say utility man, correct?
I think utility baseball player probably is the most fitting in terms of a work rate Conor Gallagher kind of player. I think you're spot on with that. Look at me, spot on.
Spot on. It's happening. It's pretty.
I'm looking at the gallery. They're so proud of themselves in here.
Pretty soon, you're going to be getting in a lift.
The taxi service, or are you talking something else?
Oh God!
Come on!
Right, Brad. Last night, two of your former sides did go head-to-head in the Premier League live on talkSPORT. We debated in some detail this earlier on, but what was your take on Unai Emery making the 7 changes, Tottenham going and get the win? Like, where does the blame / the accolades fall for that performance last night?
Well, for me, it was like the perfect scenario. The changes meant that it allowed Tottenham to get a result to get out of the bottom 3. I think Aston Villa are very solid for Champions League places, and Unai Emery has made it known just by his team selection that he's putting everything into the Europa League tie, and to try to lift a trophy. So. I thought Tottenham were the better team. I don't think Tottenham is the better team if both like full first teams were playing. In saying that, I do think they're a lot closer than what league table suggests, and I think Tottenham have had a lot of injuries as well, and just especially since the turn of year, just one disaster after another. So it's great to see them get back-to-back wins. I was surprised. Not at the team selection. I was just surprised, like looking at the fixtures, that this was one of the wins that Tottenham picked up. I thought that they needed 10 points, starting with the last week against Wolves. Now they have 6. I think 4 more, and they can be safe. They're still not safe, and they still need to get some more points on the board. But what a huge psychological transformation 2 weeks has done for Tottenham. It was out of their hands. Now it's in their hands. All the pressure goes back onto West Ham. And if you just look at the league table, you can even see Forest aren't out of it. I thought they were probably safe. Still think they probably are, but they're creeping back into it. And with a crazy run of results in the last 3 fixtures of the season, another team could get sucked back down into it. So just a remarkable turn of events over the last fortnight. There's another word for you.
Yeah, loved it. Loved a Fortnite game. Fortnite, sensational, Brad.
Video game? Is that what you're talking about, Fortnite?
See, I don't even know what that is.
I do want to ask you, Brad, you talked about the last 2 weeks and just the change of mentality for Spurs, and it feels like a lot of that has to do with Roberto De Zerbi coming in. If he's able to keep Spurs in the Premier League, how impressive of a managerial job would that be in such a short time with all of the injuries, being able to will Spurs clear and safe?
Incredible job. The job was not an X's and O's job, and that's, I would say, De Zerbi's biggest strength is how he transforms teams to play tactically to how he wants. And this was a mentality job because the players were so low on confidence. And I really worried, and I'm still a little bit worried because they're not mathematically safe. You've built a team that you thought was going to be able to compete in European competition in the Premier League and possibly go far in the domestic cup competitions. You did not put a team together thinking you were going to have to stave off relegation. So you used a player's name. Gallagher has seen that before. Solanke, who unfortunately is injured right now, understands English football. Ben Davies, who's injured, is another one. But there's not a lot of players throughout the squad that really knows what English football and relegation is all about. You have these players that were signed to play the glamour ties in English football and not the roll up your sleeve stuff. So these last 2 wins were enormous, and that and De Zerbi, I think, has gone in and transformed their mentality. And then I think we'll see, provided they do stay up, then you're going to see a much more free-flowing game of football when in the Premier League next year under De Zerbi, and you know he's gonna go for other center backs. I mean, Van de Ven, I think, can play to his style, but he'll get other center backs that can drive the ball into midfield, and the center backs in his system touch the ball an awful lot and start to build a play. So I don't think we're seeing a full De Zerbi team, but he has done remarkably well to change the mentality of the players and the fight that they've shown. Even the Brighton game, Brighton were the better team, but at least Tottenham showed some fight. I know it was an individual mistake at the end where they didn't get the 3 points, but they were showing fight from the moment that De Zerbi came in. So he deserves a lot of credit for being able to instill some confidence in players that had absolutely none.
Let me ask you, Brad, how easy is it going to be for Villa to pick themselves up from that performance last night? Because from a perspective of, you can blame the 7 changes and you can look at what it meant for what the starting lineups were, but a lot of the fans in the stadium, there was a huge amount of kind of unrest amongst those. The excellent Dan Bardell, who covers the team, who was in our group chat last night, I've never known him angrier at a Villa performance than he was last night. Are they able to just dismiss, put that aside, move on and look forward to Thursday night? Or do you think there's anything lingers from the fact that that's now 3 games, no wins, no goals scored?
I think Unai Emery knows his squad the best, and I think he knows he has to put everything into the basket of the Europa League. The squad isn't a massive squad. It wasn't too long ago that Aston Villa was in the Championship, and to then get themselves into European competition and then in Champions League competition, it takes a long time to build up your squad because you have to deal with FFP situations and you have to build up your revenue to be able to build your squad. So I can understand. I know the Villa, I was there 3 years. I know the Villa supporters very well. It's a great fan base, but they do put pressure on players, and that's what you need as players, and you need that as a staff. And it's just, for me, it's just normal. It's just another day. If he wins against Forest and they go through, then all will be forgiven, forgotten. They qualify for the Champions League and lift a trophy. Everyone's going to be delighted.
I think there'll be some West Ham
Real
fans
Madrid,
who don't forgive them
if he leaves
too soon. But
well, I have no affection towards West Ham, so quite frankly, that doesn't affect me at all.
And as you said, if he leaves for Real Madrid, what do you make of those rumours today?
Well, that would be a devastating blow for Villa because, again, I mentioned it just recently. They were in the Championship not long ago, and what Unai Emery has built is truly remarkable in a short space of time. They say it usually takes about 10 years to build up a club to something like this, and only 2 years to break it down. My worry is that the next hire is a Unai Emery, and it really struggles because it can quickly go falling down. So I putting my Villa hat on, I really hope he doesn't move. Turning down Real Madrid would virtually be impossible if he's the guy they actually choose.
It'd be a great fit for Real Madrid. I hate to say that to you. It would feel like
listen, in football, there's a couple of clubs that when they come calling as players and managers, you go. Real Madrid, unfortunately for Aston Villa, is one of those. If it happens.
If it happens. But what will happen this summer is the World Cup in North America, in the United States. I'm excited. I know you are as well. What can we look forward to this summer? And in terms of the buildup here, I know there's been a lot going on. There hasn't been a lot of stuff on the pitch or the excitement on the game. We're talking to tickets, all the other geopolitical issues going on. But what do you hope comes out of this World Cup in North America and also in the United States?
Well, I hope not one word of politics is mentioned from the moment that it starts. I think it should all be about sport. I think it should be about the fans coming together and supporting their team and then celebrating with one another afterwards. I think it's an incredible moment where people from all different walks of life can meet each other on and off the field. There's some truly remarkable cities these games are going to be played in, so I hope they enjoy the sights, the scenery, the restaurants, everything, the good parts, the really truly good parts about the United States that's on offer. I'm sure we're going to get a couple of upsets. I'm sure we're going to have a couple of teams that do exactly what we think they're going to do. I think whenever you have teams like Holland in your town, you have England in your town, you're going to have waves of fans and showing the United States fans how they celebrate, and the United States fans can show them how they celebrate. I think once it starts and all the rhetoric around it, some people for some reason wanting it to be bad, it almost seems. I think once it gets started, it's going to be a remarkable event. I guess the only slow part for me is there's more teams, so I think there's going to be a lot less upsets in the opening rounds in the group play. But then once the knockout rounds start, then I think we're going to see a fabulous event.
Yeah, more games in the group stages than any previous World Cup has had in its entire run. So I think you're absolutely right. Those first 3 weeks are going to be a test of just how much we love the beautiful game and how much America gets into it. Just very finally, Brad, because we're going to talk more as we get up to the tournament, but where are you feeling with USMNT right now? I think there's a lot of positivity around like January, February, and then the last couple of games, maybe not a lot of positivity from the Americans sat next to me.
I'm trying. Well, I want to be positive.
Mauricio's going to have a competitive team. Said it, I think, last time I was on. There's no doubt about it. Mauricio, the culture in the United States, soccer, it's not a soccer country. So when a foreign coach comes over, they see that immediately, and then they want to try to bring the culture into the group. So that one of the first things he did is your place isn't safe. That unsettled a few people. It still unsettles a few people. But when Mauricio calls his final squad, we're going to see a very competitive group of players. I think, and this would be a much longer talk show podcast, whatever it is, but United States, there hasn't been a golden generation because the country is still not a soccer country. We're growing. Stadiums are better, training grounds better, coaching's better. Overall, the squad is probably better, but we still have great players in 94, 98, 2002, 2006, 2010, et cetera, et cetera. And until we have $400 million budget like the Dodgers do, until there's a television contract there, until people that are born from all walks of life in the United States and inner city and in the middle of the Midwest want to wake up and be soccer players, we're still going to be a growing nation. So what I think is the U.S. fans just have to get behind the team. I think Chris Richards, fantastic. Anthony Robbins is fantastic. I think Weston McKennie, Tyler Adams. We have some Balogun's had a great season. We have some good players. Do I think we're going to win it? No, I do not. But do I think that we can cause some upsets and have a great run? Yes, I do. And so we have to be very realistic of where we are. And it's not a population game. Last thing I'll say, if it was a population-based situation, then China would be winning World Cups. India would be winning World Cups. Pakistan would be winning World Cups. If you look at the global populations, it's only Brazil that's in the top 10 that are a footballing nation. So it's not population, it's culture. And we are building that and growing that. And we still need many more generations to turn before it comes that. So let's just be fans. Let's hope they go out and they're competitive, and let's back the team.
Brad, absolutely love it. Thank you so much for your time, sir.
Great word, baby.
All right, guys.
I mean, I actually had you a little bit there.
Of course, that's what I hoped. I mean, that's the whole hope of the show. That's the whole hope of this American generation, was the millennials, Gen X. Everyone's had their part brick by brick, getting us to this point that we're at. But you just hope, and the interest I'm seeing from Gen Z in America towards this sport is very encouraging. And I think this is the hope that this can help expedite that exact process that he's talking about, because it can't be a pay-for-play system that we've had. You have to tackle the inner cities. When he talks about Brazil, the favelas, that's where the great players come from. You have to incorporate all walks of life in America to get the best and most talented players in the country to be a part of and participate in this program. And right now, unfortunately, it's not happening. Whether it's the players aren't interested or the players aren't funneling up in the system, we're not seeing that right now.
And look, as someone who sits on the outside looking in at that, I think back to 94, I think back through even the 90s and the early noughties where we were, I think the rest of the world were like, eventually America are going to get there. They are so dominant because they invest so much in athletics and sport at a youth level in their country that
$40 billion is spent on youth sports in America. Yeah. $40 billion.
And look,
it's insane.
If you take a sport seriously, you tend to dominate it. Now, a lot of those are your own sports, your MLBs and NBAs and everything else. But we've seen it so often in athletics, in Olympics, in those things where when Americans want to take it seriously, and I think we all thought that was what was going to happen in soccer, and it just hasn't. So maybe this is it. Maybe this is it. Yeah, hold on.
Where's your buzzer? Where's your buzzer? You got the first soccer reference on the show.
Yes. I don't even remember what we're doing now. The fan... so excited about the buzzer. Right, we've got the fan face-off coming up here on the S Word. We're going to turn our attention back to United and Liverpool. Two managers potentially at a crossroads, two futures of two clubs who have been so dominant in this country for so very, very long. Who is going to be the dominant force next year? Man United Liverpool up next here on talkSPORT, the S Word.
The daily deep dive into the world of football.
The S Word
from talkSPORT.
presents
The S Word.
Get your full-on football fix from across the football galaxy.
The S Word
from talkSPORT.
Don't forget you can follow us on the S Word YouTube channel and on the talkSPORT YouTube channel. Get involved in the chat or get in touch with us on socials. You'll be able to find me and Master there at Master_Tisfatsian on Instagram. There we go. And I am at Will Gavin anywhere you'd need to potentially find me. And also we can find us at talkSPORT S Word on all those locations as well. It is time now, however, for our fan face-off, the part of the show where we give you, the fans, the opportunity to have your say, to represent your team. On today's show, we've got DJ Andretta coming on to represent Liverpool. We've got Gerard, the Manchester United fan, both hailing out of Miami. Let's start with DJ. DJ, how you doing, brother?
Been better. Tough loss yesterday, but...
and we have immediately lost DJ. That was
is he doing better? I'm not sure if he is.
Timing. Did he hang up or did we? Who knows? This show had almost gone too smoothly for a first show. Let's be honest. Like, we'd had 2 hours of just plain sailing. I was like, this is going to be easy. What do we have to worry about? Is Gerard there? Have we got Gerard in the house? The Manchester United fan also out of Miami.
Here. Perfect.
Yeah, there we go. Gents,
what's up, guys?
how we doing? How we doing?
Good. Master William, I feel like Jeffrey from The Fresh Prince, man. How are you guys?
Oh, that's too good. Oh, my God. Have we not thought of that before? Well, look, let's come to you first, Jared, because you do have the bragging rights after yesterday. Sorry, DJ. Jared, how are you feeling about that performance yesterday and being able to pull it off against such a rival as well?
Yeah, I almost called this off. It was a rough 24 hours for me. I heard you guys talk about Inter Miami earlier. I'm in one of the supporter groups, so I was there watching us blow a 3-goal lead. So if we would have blew a 2-goal lead to Liverpool, I might have called in sick. But it was a really good watch, back and forth. Two teams obviously not at their best right now, but it was very, we gave Liverpool 2 lifelines. I think we were the better team and we deserved the win, but it was nervy in that second half at the bar. I'm not gonna lie to you. We were all sweating.
And Liverpool, I mean, a lot of players missing. I thought at halftime, Slot's out. There's no question about it. DJ, how do you feel about that now? Do you feel with the second half performance, he still deserves a little bit more leg room or a little bit more of a leash, or are you out on Slot?
I mean, it's just funny hearing a Man U fan saying they were the better team. Last I checked, you couldn't hit the ball with your hand to score a goal, but
get him.
Get him. In the 90s, that's how Man U won a lot of games. So I guess it was a throwback to that era. As far as Slot goes,
popping up again. Childhood trauma popping up again.
It's definitely some childhood trauma, but at least I don't have adult trauma. 13 years of nothing. I think Leicester's been more successful since Man U, Ferguson retired. To answer your question,
since Ferguson retired, sure.
It's very hard to judge Slot. He won the Premier League last year in his first season, which it's an extremely difficult accomplishment. But then at the same time, this year has been a complete disappointment. It's not just the losing, it's the style of play, it's the boring football. I did mention the losing. Well, Man U fans should know all about losing. So it's funny, that's the first thing you think about is losing. I mean, it's been 13 years of it, so I get why your mind goes straight to the losing.
What about the last 24 hours, big dog?
I would... When was your last Premier League? When was the last Champions League? Remind me. I think I have to watch it on the History Channel.
The History Channel. You guys talk about
There's a your
success.
The last time,
and that's all.
The last
I don't know why we're on the screen here. Just throw those two up. We're gonna go out and just get a drink and hang out.
The last time Man U did something, it was on a YouTube documentary. So I don't know what to tell you. We are defending Premier League champions at the end of the day.
It doesn't really feel like
I would give Slot some more time next season with a healthy lineup, and if he's not up to par, they could always do what Man U does almost every other year and make a mid-season change.
Well, I mean, you say that. Michael Carrick, does that feel like? I mean, I'm pretty Carrick in. I'm not a United fan by any stretch of the imagination, but I think what he has managed to achieve, considering it's not his squad in any way, shape or form, considering they have beaten Arsenal, Chelsea, City, Liverpool, all in this stretch since he's taken over. Like, you've got to be feeling pretty good about the future with him there.
Man, we are all Carrick in, man. I don't know what else you need to do. This is the best job interview of all time. Yeah, it'd be nice to see him have a summer, spend 500 million, see what he can come up with. Yeah, it's his job to lose. There's no viable alternative that excites us. We're not gonna get Luis Enrique. I know. We're not going to turn the eyes of Xabi Alonso. We're not going to turn the eyes of Xabi Alonso. He'll be Liverpool's manager either by the summer when you guys fire him in December. So yeah, we're Carrick and we like what we've seen so far.
As Liverpool fans, we're also Carrick in. Ex-manager that gets the job, gets a few results, and then we've seen this movie before with a certain Ole. So. We're loving watching the sequel, Ole 2.0, so we're very excited for Man U's 8th place finish next year again.
I'm
8th place.
I've got to say, I'm a huge fan of the idea, DJ, that you're coming in and saying that Gerrard understands about losing because of this last period of time, whereas everything you're describing was your football club for a majority of
my life. That's correct.
I mean, you see the badge.
That's why
the badge on the shoulder is gold.
That's why we've got a pilot on now, because the roles have been finally reversed after decades of losing, and now Man U are in that boat. We're not closing cafeterias here and firing staff at Anfield and then pretending to be.
You don't have cafeterias. That's why
we're not asking Man City to borrow their plane to get to the Ballon d'Or ceremony. We're not pretending to be Burnley over here. We actually spend money. What do you mean we have cafeterias? We spent $500 million, as you pointed out. You guys are firing staff and getting rid of the cafeterias. We're getting rid of closing down the cafeterias.
Unfortunately,
now that Spirit Airlines has shut down, who's Man U going to use to fly in the States?
I gotta ask you guys a question. Who will win a title next? Who will win a trophy next? Will it be Liverpool or will it be Manchester United? State your case.
I mean, if you count some exhibition tour in the summer, maybe Man U, but anything of value, 100% will be Liverpool. It's not even a question. Man U haven't done anything since Ferguson retired. I mean, this is like asking, is Burnley going to get relegated before Man City? It's an obvious answer. Of course not. It's not going to be the Man U.
You gotta love it when the loser in high school gets a good job and all of a sudden he's just forgot who he comes from. Anyway, it'll be us only because we don't overlook the Leagues Cup and the FA Cup. And so we'll definitely win one of those next year. You guys have decided to overlook those trophies as if they're less than you, even though they propped you up and propped up all of your legends of the last 20 years. I still hear about that goal that Steven Gerrard scored in the FA Cup final. Oh, God.
It's a great goal. It was a great FA Cup final, to be fair.
It was a great goal.
So let me get this right. You just said that we just diminished the trophy, but then you diminished the final goal. So there's a bit of a contradiction there.
You have diminished the trophy in the last 5 years. That's what I'm talking about. And we've won it. We beat City in the final. You should try it.
We beat Chelsea in a final.
That's
on penalties.
That's not City. On penalties. There you go.
Real quick.
Chelsea's done better than you have. They're defending Club World Cup.
Real quick, guys.
I love how Man U fans
can carry on when we're finished on there, guys. That's fine.
Don't bring that up to me. Don't bring up the Trump trophy to me.
Real quick, guys.
I can't bring up any Man U trophy. You guys don't win anything.
Hey, 10 seconds, real quick. Shout out your supporters club, real quick. And when people are in Miami, where can they watch Manchester United and Liverpool? 10 seconds.
You can come watch Liverpool at Mickey Burke's on Miami Beach in the heart of the city. Go ahead, Gerrard. Nice talking with you.
I love you, DJ. We are the bright side every week, right there on Coral Way. Come to us. We're the best bar in the city, man.
I love all of that. Gents, that was excellent. Can't say any more. Beautiful stuff.
Wonderful
the fan face-off for the first time on the S word, and I never even had to use one of those.
Look at that. Proper fans. Oh, God, there we go again. Me using British words.
Let's just wrap up on the show with a few, in case you missed it, that we were supposed to do earlier on. Let's talk Inter Milan, securing a 21st Scudetto, a convincing 2-0 win over Parma. Look, I think more than anyone else, they seem to just encompass what Italian football has been this past year, which is domestically, they can be very exciting, but you see what they did in the Champions League. You see how much they struggled, and it still feels like this is... I'm not taking away from what has been a brilliant campaign, but you do feel like these Italian giants, these sleeping Italian giants, need to start making an impact on the world stage soon.
I don't know how that changes, because it comes down to finances. And losing to Bodo Glimt in the Champions League, as impressive of accomplishment it always is to win Scudetto, I don't know who was the best challenger for them. The Juventus hasn't been the same. Milan's going through a terrible run right now. Como tried. Napoli dealt with a bunch of injuries. Inter was the most consistent team, well deserving of this. But we need more from Italian football, both domestically but also on the international stage. We're just not getting enough from them. But congratulations to Inter. And I mean, we didn't forget about them because I mentioned how Mbappe showed them more love than he did Real Madrid. So we mentioned it. The second time we mentioned it.
You're not wrong. Did you see the Sheffield Wednesday countdown video?
I did.
Let's flash it up. Let's see it on the screen, because if people haven't seen this, just... For a team who have been through such tough times, so difficult, they counted down from their points deductions from last season all the way down through for what it would finally be. They have been taken over, been bought out. They will be going down to League
One.
By
American ownership. Once again, Americans saving the day here in the UK and providing hope and financial optimism to the clubs of the FA. You gotta love it. USA, baby, as they chanted in the stadium. USA, USA.
Yeah, listen, I'm not someone who generally cites Prince or King Charles as somebody who deserves some love, but his comments over the weekend, very much the fact that, yeah, all right, maybe the rest of the world might have been speaking German if you hadn't intervened, but you'd be speaking French if we hadn't intervened. So I've got to finish off, actually, while we're talking about cross-pond, pollination. A phrase that you used in our WhatsApp group this week.
Which one?
I desperately need to
Can we
understand.
say it on air or no?
We can say it on air, but I would suggest that there are some people on the main station who would maybe feel a little bit weird about saying this on air, because it sounds more like something that I have to do with my toddler twins than something that happens in the Premier League. What on earth is wiper cleany when it's at home?
I don't even think that's American. I think that's just internet jargon, FPL. I'm a huge fantasy Premier League guy. I'm in the top 50,000 right now. I think I'm 48,000 in the world. And
is that good? I don't know.
There's 13 million, 14 million players.
Oh, it's good then. Well done.
Not bad. I could do better.
Still doesn't mean you should say things like wipe a cleanie.
When a team wipes a cleanie, that means a clean sheet's off the board. So when it happened, I forgot what match it was. I was really the Leeds-Burnley match, I believe it was, on Friday. I really needed Leeds to concede, and they Burnley scored in a 3-1 victory. Cleanie was wiped, baby. Couldn't have been happier.
Do not deserve the phrase wiper cleanie in any way, shape or form. For our poor English ears. So thank you so much to everyone who has watched our first ever edition of the S Word live on the S Word YouTube channel and on talkSPORT's YouTube as well. We will be delivering this show for American soccer and football fans every day, Monday to Friday, in the build-up to the World Cup. And then during the World Cup, we are going 7 days a week, baby. 8 a.m. Eastern, 5 a.m. Pacific. You'll be able to catch the replays on the talkSPORT S Word YouTube channels, plus plenty of clips from today's guests. Thank you to Ramon Calderon, to Brad Friedel, to Mike Ryan Ruiz, and to our brilliant fan face-off guys from today. They were sensational. And to the guys on the other side of the gallery, we won't do this every show, but to Sam, Lucy and Gabs in particular.
Shout out to the crew.
And Engineer Ed as well, who deserves some love as well, to make this thing get off the ground. And off the ground it is, because we're going to be here every day, baby. So be back with us tomorrow from 8 a.m. Eastern. Get in touch with us on social media in the meantime. You've been watching The S Word.
Around here, we only use the F word.
talkSPORT presents
The S word.